All right, it is currently 6:43 a.m. I just want you to see the extreme magnification of light that's coming through what are closed blinds as the entity is engaging in the demonic pattern of conduct of keeping a light source, which is out of out of alignment with the behavior of the natural sun, what the actual sun does in the natural environment. The blinds are closed, but you also have the pattern of keeping the light source rising in alignment to me, wherever it is that I'm located, whatever city or county I'm in. And that's what's so profound about as I'm documenting that pattern of conduct here in Los Angeles, specifically inside of building 1806, North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6 on the 3rd floor, facing what are the mountains where you see the people of the state in relevant position. I took a close-up of the third-party facilitating venue, the blue, that's a venue. It's not an individual's house. This is a state facilitating venue. They're monitoring here. And I took a picture, close-up image of that facilitating venue. And this is where the entity's light source is rising in perfect alignment with my living room window. Through those closed blinds, you have what is magnified light at a very serious level of magnification. This is based on my movement right now. I'm here moving around and you can see this. I'm nowhere in the living room, okay? But I just want you to see that level of magnification as I move around. It's creating what is light activity. It's not only impossible, but understand the significance of it. What's the purpose of it? It's for light activity. So the entity is molesting you, violating your person because they're keeping you under surveillance and monitoring you while you're inside of the private space. And so this is the explanation for the use of what's clearly visible, the clearly visible and identifiable pattern of conduct inside of the target individual's private space. This is the engagement in the sex offense. And then the entity is maintaining real-time awareness of what you're doing at all times, okay? Maintaining the engineered light with that real-time knowledge. And this is also speaking to what is that in real time as I speak to the demon possession of the entity, as I speak to whatever it might be that they've done. And I'm documenting on video and you've seen the light activity. That's when you'll see like the flashing light. These are demons that are engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they also engage in what is communicating what's a threat. A demon engaging in that sort of spectacular light activity is federally, with regard to the federal prosecution, that's going to be analyzed as the psychopath that's stalking with light and is terrorizing you and threatening your life with that. That's a weirdo that's stalking you, doing weird stuff with light. Just to put it in layman's terms, it freaks out the ordinary targeted individual, and that is analyzed as the threat to your life, a threat to your safety, and to your overall well-being. All right, and I've documented that over and over and over again, just being here at Alvarado Gardens. It's a phenomenon. It would never happen in the first place. And then you see the entity engage in what is a light show. I'll refer to it as additional impossible light activity while you're already looking at the phenomenon. But this magnification of light, understand how the other level of magnification where the fan was, how it's gone rapidly, has nothing to do with the placement of the light source, because first of all, you already know that this isn't the sun. The sun remains here for the light source remains here for over 12 hours a day. All right, and you have what is magnification through what are closed blinds. This is very perfect alignment with the living room window, and even this is not an explanation. Sunlight does not pierce through, but you have seen the multiple shadows both day and night. You've seen the light on the ceiling. You've seen the multiple shadows as it appears on surfaces, and you know exactly what this is. This is engineered light that's reaching into the depths of an apartment, and it is magnified. This is what the people of the state are surrounding in. This is what covers the grounds. And this is speaking to the illusion that the demon possessed, the secret society, are present in and are surrounding the target individual in. You're not under the sun. The sun doesn't remain over for 12 hours. And the entity, the demon possessed entity that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, keeps that light source in alignment and directly over the targeted individual, where the people of the state who are demon possessed engaging in a criminal system, which is a violent sex offense, while they're all focused on that target individual in that demented environment, which is facilitating ceaseless monitoring, all right? And it is also the unlawful violation of their person. The people of the state who are also demon possessed, it's also the outward demonstration of demon possession while they maintain presence in the path, creating some method of light, all right? And you've demonstrated this, they've demonstrated this time and time again. I walk out of my office, I am using my cell phone, and you'll see a demon, for example, Ledesma of 1816 number 1, with simultaneity parking or starting their car. It's a method of light activity in the path. All right, you'll have demons that are sounding their sirens in the engineered light. That is criminal summoning, by the way. It serves for massive monitoring. That's a threat to your life and your liberty and your overall well-being, while the entity is ceaselessly engaging in a pattern of conduct to target you and monitor you. And then you'll have demons that'll just drive on the property, park it's a method of crossing path and maintaining presence in the light. It's in the specific environment. This is demonic, all right? It's the outward demonstration of demon possession. Demons are maintaining presence in the path, crossing path with light. They also do this, as I've demonstrated in I've demonstrated through my documentation. The entity has demonstrated, and all I did was capture it, is the coexisting impossible light activity, which is this light that's just in motion, all right, while they cross path. And then you'll see light move across the surface. Absolutely impossible, has nothing to do with sunlight. An impossible occurrence, it's also that which is inexplicable. So I'll go ahead and break that down for you. Not only is it impossible that you have the presence of light flashing around while you are doing nothing other than driving by, but it's also impossible because where the entity's light activity occurs, it's also inexplicable based on the position of the sun and for example, the side of the vehicle. So the van that comes to the property to pick up the third-party group stalkers here, they use their van as a means of presence. It's a business. I've already documented this, and I'll go ahead and remind you. Actually, I'm going to put together a specific playlist of all of the aspects of terrorism, serving for the prosecution of the people. It's always important that you remember the big picture and the demonic environment. The demonic is speaking to what is, again, the establishment of the conspiracy between the entity, that is the state directly, and the state vicariously, which are the people of the state. The fact that the phenomenon is occurring, it's revealing to you what is indeed a secret society and a secret criminal system. This is the criminalization of that which an entity has been doing throughout what is supposed to appear, it's supposed to appear like it's everyday life, and it's not. They're systematically monitoring and targeting American citizens, and doing so with the highest level of malice. And in addition to that, it's the practice of satanic behaviors. That in and of itself is serving for the federal prosecution for terrorism. It's also a violent sex offense. While a population, a people, and a government are targeting someone, it's a mass sex offense, and it's sexually violent based on the pure numerosity, based on the fact that it's absolute strangers, and it's occurring everywhere that you go at all times. Anyone is capable of engaging, well, they're capable, everyone and anyone is, but you have, for example, a stranger that's able to just come and park, for example, come and park on the property, not that they have to. They can park and engage in loitering or relevant position on Alvarado Street, and they're engaged in criminal surveillance, maintaining presence, creating activity, and maintaining real-time knowledge about what I'm doing as I undress. This is on corporate knowledge, and this is the nature of the demon-possessed, and this is also established, and reasonably so, because I've shown you the phenomenon. This is a phenomenon. This magnification of light is a phenomenon. The maintenance of the light source for 12 hours at Alvarado Gardens is a phenomenon. The impossible light activity that you've seen in my apartment on the ceilings, creating multiple shadows on all the walls, the light activity at nighttime, those are phenomenons, and it is reasonable based on the fact that this pattern of conduct is filled with what are phenomenal characteristics. It is, and I'm giving you the legal analysis, it is reasonable that I'm demonstrating to you what is beyond what perhaps the federal tribunal would contemplate would be a matter of legal analysis for a prosecution, but it's reasonable based on the facts that have already been established. I'm not telling or speaking about anything that I have not shown the direct evidence of. And based on that phenomenon, that the multiple phenomenons that the entity has demonstrated and I captured, I'm also letting you know that these demons know with real time, which they've also demonstrated through their behavioral pattern as they create activity. You know what I'm doing as you're stalking with activity. You know what I'm doing as you're stalking with a light source. You know exactly where I'm at and what I'm doing. You know what I'm doing and where I'm at while you stalk with engineered light in each and everywhere that I go, in every crevice. You know exactly what I'm doing and where I'm doing it. So the entity, with simultaneity to what I do, are creating activity and maintaining corporate presence. And any sex offender, and I mean a sex offender that's been for example, prosecuted by a superior court, a weirdo, somebody that's got a documented sex offense, all right? Any and every weirdo, the demon-possessed, the state itself, the people of the state, and even those that are sex offenders, but they just haven't been prosecuted, and they're sex offenders based on being a group stalker. A group stalker is a violent sex offense. They're not only molesting my person with what is impossible light activity, and it's the direct evidence for the mass federal prosecution, but they're also doing so with what is an unfathomable level of corporate invasion of privacy. The people of the state, everywhere that you go, as not only while I'm here, but while I go to my car, as I go to any grocery store, as I go to the bank is monitoring. That's why the entity will put the light source directly over the bank. That's why directed engineered light is inside of the bank. And by the way, the fact that the entity is keeping the light source over Alvarado Gardens and then all of a sudden making an about face and it's over Chase Bank, that's called the pattern of conduct. At no time while it's remaining at Alvarado Gardens for 12 hours a day is it at any location which would be visible over any Chase Bank or for visible from any location where a Chase Bank is, but that's the pattern. It's the same way with the body of evidence that already exists. So I will publish today a reminder of documentation where I'm inside of the Ovid Family Community Library while I'm in the back of that library facing the College of Law, University of Laverne, a third-party facilitating venue where, by the way, third-party group stalkers, sex offenders, criminals are there studying law while they are engaged in the state's pattern of conduct. This is a corrupt system that is just built into society here. And you have people that are studying to practice law while they are systematically engaging in the violation of law and the violation of another. This is speaking to, again, when you are prosecuting those that will be removed from specific areas and industries and sectors. It is the absolute revelation and exposure of corruption. These minions and University College of Law, I even went to that venue and specifically documented the entity was keeping a fake sun over me, a light source over me at the College of Laverne. Impossible light activity all over the venue and inside of the venue of College of Laverne. And the demon possessed, those that you are documenting, they also engage in the pattern of what is harassing you, which that's exactly what they did as well. And I'm not doing anything other than lawful possession of my phone. And I'm in the College of Law using the library and using the books. They were hostile to that, engaging in what is harassment that's legally relevant while you're monitoring, you're threatening my life, and then on top of that, you're going to be mean to me for no outright. All of that's going to the prosecution. It's harassment by an entity. They're not as an individual. They speak as the entity. They're present as an entity because where they are, it's the facilitating venue. And I want you to pay attention as I'm moving my hand. This is impossible light activity. It's serving to monitor. It's impossible while the blinds are closed. The blinds are closed. Okay, so like I said, this is going for the prosecution, and so I will remind you about another location at the Ovid Family Community Library, both the address and at 1026, 1027, I believe. I'm inside of the library, and what you see directly over my head as I capture out the back of that library is the presence of the light source, supposedly the sun, because we only have one. We've only got one. And you're going to remember the sun is supposedly present at 12:38 p.m. directly over the front door of apartment 451 in Ontario, California. At what point is that ever going to happen when it's rising here and setting here at Alvarado Gardens in alignment to me, aiming light inside of my apartment, aiming light inside of my office and all around my office from the beginning of the day to the end of the day? When does that ever happen? The light source is never ceasing visibility. All right, even when the entity is, again, behind clouds, this is the demonic because I'm exposing it, it's not going anywhere. And this, again, logically follows when you have already captured the phenomenon, it doesn't change the next day. Capturing the phenomenon is the capturing of the prima facie case, period. The demonic are stuck in what is the exposure of that. But I want to be clear, 10:27 a.m., the entity has a light source over me while I'm inside of the building of Ovid Family Community Library. At no point whatsoever while I'm at Alvarado Gardens is there a sun anywhere near the city of Ontario or over at any location. It's not visible from any location there. But I have documented that's a facilitating venue where I was subject to that pattern of conduct. And you'll also see impossible light activity reaching inside of a building. The sun is on top. The sun is above us, but you're looking at, again, the pattern of conduct. Sunlight, again, you know that's engineered light, but this is what the idiotic pattern of conduct, the unintelligent methods. It's nothing other than an obsessive endeavor. That obsession is not intelligent. The entity is engaging in what is the creation of light that's reaching down and at an angle into the depths of the building, and you see it on the floor, and it's got the pattern of the plants and the trees. That's speaking to the shadow. That's speaking to the bending of light to create the pattern of whatever that engineered light is hitting. It's absolutely demonic. That's a terrorizing scene that I'm capturing at Ovid Family Community Library. It's also the prima facie case of what is federal group stalking and monitoring based on the pure impossibility of the presence of that light and also the presence of that light source in its zenith over my head while I'm inside at the back of the Ovid Family Community Library at approximately 10:26, 10:27 a.m., which is something that I documented over and over and over again. The entity had at no time had any sun in Los Angeles. The entity was keeping the light source over that building because that's where I would go from the beginning of the day to the end of the day unless I went to the Fontana Lewis Library. Then it remained in the window of the Omnitrans bus and over the Fontana Lewis Library as I stayed there, which I also captured. And I want to be clear, at every facilitating venue where I'm capturing this phenomenon, the corrupt law enforcement agencies were group stalking by helicopter. That's the pattern of conduct. The Fontana Police Department, in the specific environment, that is the light source over the Fontana Lewis Library from the beginning to the end of the day. Yes, I did that. Meaning I documented that. And the entity maintaining engineered light meaning at nightfall, multiple shadows, during the day, multiple shadows, in the depths of that building, engineered light, as though the sun which is above the building is then at an angle reaching into the depths, just like you see this, right? As though the sun is next to the window and it's shooting like a laser. Okay, I want to be clear, this is the pattern of conduct and it's in conformity to that which has already been documented. And I also am speaking to what is the impossibility of that it would ever be present, as you are looking at where the entity was already suggesting, and I just went to the extent to document it. Oh yeah, that's the sun and that's sunlight, right? Okay, so we'll see about that. And now I'm in Los Angeles showing you the exact same thing, and it's absolutely impossible, but you can even isolate it to just this location. If that was the sun, it would not be present for 12 hours. And this has nothing to do with sunlight. This is potent engineered light. All right, you look at the luminescence, you're looking at the magnification, you're looking at how it's spreading from what are closed blinds, okay? The blinds are closed. And you're also looking at what is a pattern of what is engineered light. This is the prosecution of the sex offenders, because that's what a group stalker is. It's a violent sex offender. The sex offenders that are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring are going to be identified at their federal prosecution by name. All right, I've got their addresses, I've got their license plates, whatever it is, that, however I'm able to document them, but that's an entity. The state is present through one group stalker. They're in the state facilitating venue or a third party facilitating venue. And that is, again, prosecuting based on the criminal conspiracy of a government monitoring and targeting an American citizen in concert with the people. All right, so while they want to use underage persons who are third-party group stalkers engaging in a sex offense in concert with the government, they're going to be prosecuted and documented as engaging in terrorism and engaging in a mass sex offense of a felonious nature. And it's going to be appreciated under federal law, and that's going on their criminal records. While the entity uses those under the age living at the crime scene, monitoring an American citizen with those under the age of majority, no, they're not going to be protected. And in addition to that, I want to be clear, monitoring with communication devices, just being present, it does not require rocket science at all. It just requires presence and activity creation. And I want to also speak out, the demon possessed is not limited to the age of majority. So there's a lot of layers there. You are prosecuting based on what the entity is doing. All right, so I will remind again about another venue speaking to an ongoing contradiction. It's impossible that was the sun over 408 West G Street. That was a pattern of conduct. It's the demonic. The demonic are engaging in a targeting system in the state of California. At 12:38 p.m., that light source is in zenith over my head at the front door of 408 West G Street in Ontario, California. You know that's impossible based on the fact that the sun remains there for the duration of the day. This is a body of evidence that already exists. You also know it's impossible because the entity is keeping the light source here at Alvarado Gardens, now where I'm at. And here at 12:38 p.m., there's no vantage point where there's any sun over that would be seen by any person standing in front of door 51 at 408 West G Street, because the sun is not maintaining its zenith presence over everyone, everywhere at the same time. In Los Angeles County, in San Bernardino County, and any other county. That's not what's happening. You're suggesting that that's happening everywhere, and that's not what the sun is. It's in constant movement. Not only that, it's not a hovering light source, and it surely does not create sunlight does not create multiple shadows refracting off of objects while people are driving by. No, those are demons. Those are demons, and demons engage in crossing path and engineered light. That's how they monitor you, and they're monitoring in the private space. This is a prosecution for a mass sex offense. All right, and it's also ongoing documentation for what is impunity. The sex offender that's being documented is monitoring its own documentation, speaking to the malice of that sex offender, that ongoing desire, which is analyzed as a threat. All right, a very violent sex offender in the way that you would analyze under any other body of law. A sex offender that continues to pursue, a sex offender that continues to persist, a sex offender that continues to engage in the act with knowledge of the fact, based on the crime monitoring, based on the environment, based on the behavioral pattern. Yes, they know. The phenomenon itself. Following with the whole environment, they know exactly who you are when you're being targeted. It's not a coincidence. And they know what you're doing. And they're showing the violent sex offender that they are. It's the whole entity, everybody documented. You are going down as an entity while you're monitoring as an entity. And what the entity does together. Okay, so I want to be clear, understand the sexual violence that is hereby captured while the entity is persisting day in and day out with that which is impossible light activity, and it's already directly proven. So you're talking about what is a psychopath, a delusional sex offender that is already surrounded by evidence, and yet that sex offender continues to pursue you because that's exactly what they're doing, and that's exactly the significance of this. And it's going toward the prosecution, very severe prosecution, civilly and criminally. It's 7:02 a.m. and this is P.O.C. inside of, again, understand the direction that this window is facing. I'm on the third floor in Los Angeles. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, the sun rises in perfect alignment with my address. That's the pattern of conduct. And it's also setting in perfect alignment with me at the end of the day, 12 hours from now. And throughout the entirety of the day, the entity is maintaining engineered light, and this light actually has nothing to do with the placement of the light source. This is a source of maintaining engineered light. The light source itself is a false illusion. It's an idiotic illusion, because when you see this, and then, for example, you're in Louisiana and you look up in the sky space and you're looking at what you are thinking is the sun, you see how this is very clear. It's a revelation for the world to acknowledge what we're all surrounded by. But those that are subject to group stalking and monitoring, a public entity, a government is doing that to you. And that creates a whole body of laws that you are going to be protected by, that you're going to be able to enforce. Because while we cannot control the fact that the demonic may be here, you can control the fact that the entity wants to practice this demonic system in order to monitor you. Because that's what they're doing. All right, and they're engaging in a specific pattern of conduct. And with regard to its exposure, it was only a matter of time, by the way, but with regard to its exposure, you're documenting and you're prosecuting for the relentless endeavor to continue after being exposed. I want the federal judges to keep this in mind. The entity knows that it is always surrounded, and day in and day out, continuously engaging in threatening my life, sexually violating me, posing what are reasonably so an ongoing communication of a threat, an ongoing communication of an intent to continue to sexually target and molest and pursue with what are terrorizing methods for a criminal purpose, serving no legitimate purpose whatsoever. And this is while they are monitoring the evidence that has been accumulated against them, and is continuously being. That's all relevant to the prosecution, not just of the state of California, but the people of the state. The people of the state are the entity. The entity is monitoring with them, cannot do it without the people. That's why you have a whole environment that's surrounding. That's why they are engaging in what is always behavior that's occurring with simultaneity. That's not a coincidence that's happening over and over again. That's clinically described as a pattern. It's not something that's just coincidentally facilitating a criminal system. The elements of monitoring, that's a pattern. And now I'm in Los Angeles showing you what a whole different group of people in a different zip code. But I could go to San Francisco and you'll have the same pattern of conduct. Okay, they're looking at a sun in San Francisco. It's not the light source that's remaining over Alvarado Gardens all day long, and that's only because I haven't moved from Alvarado Gardens. The documentation already suggests that the sun was supposedly over Ovid Family Community Library at 10:27 a.m. on the date that I was there. And was doing that for the duration of the time that I remained there. Okay, the entity is engaging in monitoring and group stalking, and I will remind you of that evidence as well. It's serving for what is the mass prosecution of the people of the state, and serving for what again is that then the ongoing pursuit that's called the impermissible threat, the psychopath and the sex offender that continues while you have already exposed it. It is in no way establishing, because you're talking about the established phenomenon. So you're talking about what is in no way establishing innocence. It's not establishing innocence. It's unreasonable to do so, and the facts suggest otherwise. You're talking about somebody that is delusional, and by somebody I mean the entity. The entity is delusional. The entity has been exposed. The entity is being documented. It's facing a federal prosecution, and you're talking about delusional persistence, and it's to the demise of everyone. Everybody documented. Over 18, under 18. They're living at the crime scene. They're threatening the life of the target individual. They're present in the path with their parent, guardian, and they're monitoring, and they are participating in a state system. Whether they anticipated that it would have been exposed or not is not the target individual's problem. You're going to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law the sex offender that they are, the terrorist that they are. And it's currently 7:06 a.m. and this is the maintenance of that engineer light inside of my apartment. All right, and this ongoing maintenance is serving for what is the corporate invasion of privacy that the target individual is subject to, and it is serving for, and I'm moving my hand right here in front of what are blinds that are closed, and that's how you're looking at what is light activity. This is the elements of monitoring while I'm talking, and the group stalkers surround. The entity is engaging in, this is P.O.C. while they invade your private space. So the entity is engaging in what is a systematic maintenance of a criminal system inside of the private space, which will be the prosecution for a sex offense committed by a public entity. Any and every personal and private activity is a matter of public information, and they are maintaining what is the elements of monitoring, which is an unprecedented level of invasion and a sexually perverted and motivated aspect of the criminal monitoring system, right? That level of invasion was never supposed to be discovered or exposed, and it's being practiced by a government and a people. And it's entirely sick. That's very sick and demented. It's perverted at a heightened level. That's sexual violence by all of those people. That's sexual violence that needs to be recognized under federal law. Okay, it's currently 7:07 a.m. and I just want to remind you, this engineered light that you see in here, you see that? This is light that is appearing on the carpet. That's supposed to be the light, but you've got light that's illuminating on the wall. This is P.O.C. This is P.O.C. This is the engineered light that's all over the grounds. That's not sunlight. This is the pattern of conduct. This is the facilitating venue. This is a demonic environment, and it serves for systematic monitoring. And I want to be clear, the entirety of the entity knows day in and day out as I continuously expose step by step every video, every picture that I take, everything that I review, the entity is aware of it. They are indeed psychopaths. They are indeed exposed. Their secret is known, and this has also been shown in the evidence that I've captured. For example, the impossible occurrence of engineered light on my wall and on my bedroom wall inside of my bedroom on the 3rd floor out of this window, right? I'm documenting, and I've turned to the side and I've showed you engineered light. The impossible occurrence is the maintenance, the fact that it's occurring, period. But you also have the entity engaging in what is the flashing of light. The more I talk about it, the more I provide legal analysis for it, the more that these demon possessed who are listening to every single word, go back and look at the documentation, because you're looking at what that also is speaking to their real-time knowledge. But I just want to be clear, the demon possessed are engaged in what is the ability to criminalize what they're doing. They are engaging in what is targeting people. I'm going to take the legal aspect out of it. The demon possessed are targeting people. I'm not going to preach, but they are targeting specific persons. All right. Persons that are not like them. All right. I don't have any demon. I don't serve any wicked entity. I don't have that demonic spirit on me. The demon possessed target specific individuals. And what is happening is the demon possessed in this country, and that includes now this is where the legal analysis comes in, because the demon possessed, they're not individuals that are in their house and in their attic exercising some constitutionally protected religious right. I mean, provided that they're not infringing upon the constitutional rights of another. But you got a religious right to practice. You want to serve your God, whatever doll or clay idols you want, you can do that. Okay. Doesn't mind. I don't care. Okay. But when you're engaging in that, which is the demon possessed are in government. The demon possessed are flying helicopters, calling themselves police officers, calling themselves affiliated with police departments. They are in government office. They are sitting around in the city halls and in the courthouses. They are sitting around and calling themselves and holding positions of authority in these state and local agencies. These are the demon possessed. And that's significant because the demon possessed are targeting American citizens in concert with who are the people of the state. They are all living at a crime scene. It's readily identifiable. This is where that legal analysis is coming in because of the significance that the demon possessed hold and where we're at. We're in the United States. This is a free country. So no government actor is able to abuse their position in order to target another American citizen and exploit that position. That's what they're doing. They're exploiting the positions that they hold while they are violating the constitutional and human rights of another. And they're doing it in the most malicious way through the people of the state that are of the same condition. The demon possessed are affiliated not by some position. They have an invisible condition that you're ignorant of. And not only am I showing you about their condition, it's also occurring. It's also made obvious to you through the environment that they're in, the environment that you were never supposed to be even paying attention to. And also the behavior that they're engaged in and the behavior that you're never supposed to be aware of the significance of it. So you know what they're doing. They're crossing path. They're surrounding you in the path as a group in engineered light. That's why my blinds are closed and I'm creating light activity in the depths of my bedroom, serving for what is massive monitoring. Whereas by the sun, you could break that all the way down. That's not sunlight. And also you have what is the maintenance of a light source when all you do is pay attention. Ordinarily you wouldn't, but when you pay attention, the sun is from this living room to the opposite side of this parking lot right here. Aiming light on the same exact environment. The same exact environment, this building that's covered with engineered light right here next door, the entity at nightfall after 5 p.m., it's still covering the same buildings, the same grounds with engineered light. That's not sunlight, and that's not the sun that's remaining on this side of my apartment. And then outside of this window, this same address, Alvarado Gardens, the light source as I step out of my office at this same property, maintaining the light source 12 hours later. No, that's not the sun, and that's not sunlight. Sunlight that's reaching up to the heights of the wall, a magnified shadow, and then you're seeing none of this is sunlight. When you know the environment that you're in and what they're doing. I want to be clear, the demon possessed are going to be prosecuted based on the positions that they hold. It's the government that's engaging in the practice of a satanic targeting system of American citizens in violation of their constitutional and human rights, and they're doing it in concert with the people of the state who are in that environment for that criminal purpose. All right. So this is darkness that they're practicing, but it has a legal significance, and they are watching moment by moment as I expose it, as I legally analyze it, as I serve to federally prosecute it. And the things that you've seen on my wall, impossible light activity, and then, for example, the flashing of the light, you'll see the light and then it'll disappear. That is speaking to their real-time knowledge of what I am documenting as I'm documenting it. First of all, it would never happen. Second of all, it's occurring while I'm speaking the truth to you about what they're doing. These are very hostile and highly psychotic demons. All right. And their demon possession is physically invisible, but it is readily identifiable by their behavior, by their presence in the environment, by their engagement in the criminal elements of monitoring. Okay. It is currently 7:13 a.m. and this is P.O.C. This is the grounds as I've already shown, and this is the picture of malice. This is serving for the federal prosecution. You're going to remove the children, as I've identified the people of the state that live at Alvarado Gardens and the people of the state that live all around in relevant position. You're removing the children from the custody of those that are here practicing federal group stalking and monitoring, which is terrorism against an American citizen, and it's a massive sex offense. It is a highly demented targeting system that is secretly conducted, but it's not a secret anymore. And while I continuously expose it, you're looking at the very violent threat that they pose to your life while that entity continuously poses that threat and engages in that system even more so. And this is shown through the corporate behavior of the entity, not just the stalking by the demon-possessed entity that's acting directly, the Los Angeles Police Department, by virtue of the dozens and dozens of times in a specific environment that they are group stalking via helicopter, okay? You are talking about, and every time that they're doing that, they're engaging in the elements of monitoring with the people of the state at the specific environment, period. So every dozens and dozens of times, the LAPD is group stalking and threatening with the people of the state. So as I slice down that entity, Rita Vega of apartment 1802, apartment number 6 in Los Angeles, California, is going to be prosecuted for engaging in terrorism with the Los Angeles Police Department, living at the crime scene, which is a facilitating venue, participating in a highly malicious targeting system against another American citizen. That's how that's going to go. And she's a violent sex offender. Everybody living in her household, they're engaging in the pattern of conduct. This is existing. It's supposed to exist in plain sight, and you don't even recognize it. That's the malice that Rita Vega is going to be prosecuted for. All right. And everything that Rita Vega does, everybody in that household, everything that they're doing is facilitating the ongoing threat to the life and physical safety and overall well-being of that target individual. And as I continuously document the environment that I am in, while these demons are maintaining presence on behalf of a government in order to monitor and target you. Okay, real-time knowledge, the sex offender that Rita Vega is, while I'm physically indisposed, while I'm nude, and I'm being molested with what is that, it's not even naturally occurring because Rita Vega is engaging in what is criminal surveillance. And that is the identification of the sex offender, the one engaging in terrorism. That's speaking to the third-party group stalker that's participating in the state's the state's criminal system of federal group stalking and monitoring. And that's when you're going to carve it down by name. All right. And that's everybody. You can fill in the name because everybody at Alvarado Gardens is getting that prosecution. Those that want to utilize children, those children's names, they are living at the crime scene. And since you want to include them in a sex offense and in terrorism, that's exactly how they will be documented. I want to be clear. That's what they're doing to threaten the life of an American citizen. And they thought ahead of time that it would, number one, never be identified. But number two, that somehow a child's not being protected. A child is participating in a crime perpetrated by a government with the people. So you're going to identify that. And the entity that is acting through children, that adult will go to federal prison for what they're facilitating, contribution to the delinquency of a minor by an entity that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. Federal group stalking and monitoring via and in concert with a minor. That's a crime committed by the entity. Engaging in a sex offense, a mass sex offense, which is federal group stalking and monitoring via minors with minors. That's a criminal act by an entity. You can fill in the blank. Precious Bastillos. Tiffany Sherez. These are the type of federal charges that they're going to serve time for it. This is how you are carving down what an entity that acts as a group, but this entire group, this is an easy one right here, Alvarado Gardens. This whole group, all 59 of these units, they're all catching a federal prosecution and all the criminal acts that they engaged in while they're present, acting on behalf of the entity. Because I want to be clear, on the opposite side of Glendale Boulevard, relevant position, the entity is maintaining a whole environment. And when I leave here, the pattern of conduct continues. So you've got strangers whose address I don't know, license plate I've yet to document, and the entity keeps the light source over my car, whatever vehicle I'm in. It totally leaves from being over Alvarado Gardens. That's a pattern of conduct. That's how you have it over the Ovid Family Community Library at 10:27 in the morning. That's not the sun. All right, and you're looking at what are demons that are pacing in and out. They're not looking for a parking space. It's not about coming to pick somebody up. It's not about because they have to go to work. They're monitoring and pacing right now. These psychopaths are waiting a federal prosecution to be identified, to be deported out of this country, to spend time in federal prison, which they deserve, to walk away from this federal prosecution with a worthy criminal record, speaking to the sex offender and terrorists that they are, because that's what federal group stalking and monitoring is. That's the purpose that it serves. Okay, so I want to be clear. It is currently 7:18 a.m. This is Juan Cadet. His license plate, social security number is already documented on the Google Drive. This is a capturing of what is facilitating light activity in the engineered light, the entity that is engaged in real-time knowledge. So I want to be clear, while this is a demon that is focused on what I'm saying as I'm saying it, outwardly conducting themselves as though there's something else that they're doing, and none of that matters, because they're under the light source and an engineered light. This is what the demon possessed wants you to focus on. None of that is persuasive. It's light activity, has their hazards on. And while they are, again, serving for what is corporate monitoring and group stalking, that's what you're going to punish, okay? This is 1818 number 5. This is facilitating light activity. This is what companies come onto the grounds and engage in, and this is why they're going to federal prison, and they use it engaging in what is terrorism and a sex offense, and doing so under the name of a company. And that's exactly how you're going to expose them, facilitating the state's system of federal group stalking and monitoring. This is a picture of impunity, and this impunity is going to be attributed to Rita Vega, who's going to be prosecuted, all right? The entity acts as one. So while Juan Careto, acting on behalf of an entity, facilitating criminal monitoring and group stalking, and the sex offense that's underway, Rita Vega is going to be prosecuted as well. They are holding hands, engaging in the criminal act together. This is light activity. This is pacing conduct, walking back and forth. This is ongoing facilitating of monitoring. And that white Tesla, driving in and driving out, they're pacing. This is now light activity that he's using his hazards. They were driving out on this side and driving out on this side. They're pacing. All right, and they're demons in the same behavior that you've seen the light activity on my wall, the flashing of light while they listen to me document. This is another iteration of the same. All they are doing is monitoring. That's it. That's it. That's why you have the engineered light and the light source. The demon possessed engage in this, which is showing nothing other than it is honing and providing a microscope to the demented mind state of the entity. That's exactly why they get the punishment that I'm advocating. And the fact that the entity is engaging in it in a specific environment. Flashing lights, hazard lights, is facilitation. It's light activity in the path, while engineered light surrounds. Okay, and that is again Juan Careto, who is monitoring with Rita Vega. And I'm just using Rita Vega as an example because the entity is going to be prosecuted in that precise manner. All right, this is P.O.C. at 7:20 a.m. inside of apartment number 1806, and you're looking at what's impossible light that's touching surfaces all around, not sunlight. All right, and the entity does this at all times during the day. He's using his hazard lights in what is engineered light. I've shown you the double shadows when I'm walking through that parking lot. This is serving criminal monitoring. He's not doing anything else but that, and this is somebody that's not worthy to be in the country anyway. So Rita Vega is going to be prosecuted, but Rita Vega might not have to face deportation. Juan Caretos is going to be shipped on the hottest thing out of this country after he's federally prosecuted. Him and his wife. All right, it is currently, by the way, 7:20 a.m. This is P.O.C.